Hello, everyone, and welcome to my favorite part of Monday, and that is Horse Center. I'm Wild Jamie, and with me is my amazing co-host, Swiss Army Sean, the absolute best. And our special guest tonight is someone I have been a huge fan of for quite some time. She's had a very interesting career all across the world, starting in Canada, currently in Australia, but the founder of Gate to Wire, a publication that I personally love and have poached plenty of our guests on this show from. So thank you for all of that hard work. And that is Veronica Gizuk. Now, did I pronounce your last name correctly? We were in such a rush. I didn't. Okay. She actually was busy doing horsey things until literally the moment we went live. So we didn't get to catch up much like we normally do. So welcome to the show, Veronica. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
Wonderful. We are so happy to have you. I'm so glad you could make it. Now, Veronica, as I said, you started off in Canada, and I love your profile. It says you're a lady who likes fast horses. That is fabulous. So has it always been that way? Do you come from a racing family?
No, I actually don't, but my family, we always grew up with horses. My mom used to barrel race.
Nice.
So I got into horses through her. And then when I was 18, my stepdad was friends with a trainer from Woodbine Racetrack, and I had met him, and I said that I wanted to go and see it. So the next day, after I'd watched races, he took me like to the backside, and then I started working there and haven't really left since.
I love it. And I mean, it seems like you've done so many different things in racing. Can you just kind of run down some of the job titles you've had in this business?
Yeah, well, when I started when I was 18, I don't really know what you'd say. I guess I would just say like I was just a general stable hand. Like I wasn't really comfortable around racehorses at that time because they're a lot different than like your ponies and show ponies that you have back home. So I basically just started helping with like the barn chores, like doing stalls, water buckets, feeding, that kind of stuff until I got comfortable. And then I moved into like being a hot walker. And then eventually, like I started grooming. I've been a vet assistant. I've done social media stuff for various outlets. And then I do Gate to Wire, and now I'm in Australia.
I love it. So tell us a little bit about Gate to Wire. Like, how did you get that idea? How did you get it started? It is so wonderful. For anyone who has not checked this out, please check out Gate to Wire. My personal favorite series is the Youth in Racing. I specifically grabbed guests from there because I was so interested in your perspective on all of this. You did a great job of highlighting these young people coming up in the industry. How did all this start?
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And it started, what year did COVID start? I don't
2020.
even.
2020.
Yeah, I can't even remember. But
sure. It was a really long year. It felt like a decade. So.
Yeah, it was. So it was 2020. I started. So I've been doing it a couple years now, and I just started because I was bored. Like we couldn't race in Canada. Like it kept going on and off, on and off. Like our government was terrible to racing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was just bored, and then I always enjoyed writing, and like in high school, like English was my best subject, and I did a lot of writing in high school and in college. So I just thought that I would get back into it, and then I thought, well, there's something better to write about than horse racing, and then so that's how it started.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate all of your hard work, and it is very well written. Like I was shocked when I found out how young you are in your early 20s. Whew, those were the days, right, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good. This is the market that we need for. So
yes.
How did you get? You kind of said it already, but like, what's the future to get more people your age into the sport?
I think it really varies. Like in Australia, it's so diverse here. Like everyone is like, I'm only 24, and everyone here is like around my age. Like, sure, there's older people in racing here, but like there's more young people than there is older. And we even have like in my stable where I work, we even have a couple 16-year-olds. Wow. And it's like you don't really see that like in America and Canada. The only way you're going to see that usually if it's like like a trainer's kid or something. Like typically you're not going to see like a 16-year-old that come in off the street and ask for a job type deal.
What do you think they're doing in Australia to do that? We need the secret.
I think it just comes down to like marketing and advertising. Like, I think that's like the end of it, the end of the deal for that. And like back home, like, you know, people are always, I find it's the older generation, they're always complaining about social media and saying, oh, like you kids are always on your phones, you're always doing this, you're always doing that, you always need your phone. That's how you get people involved. Like even you like posting like TikToks and like posting stuff like you're at the races, and then other people see it through other people, you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Like I want to do that. How do I do that? Like that's how, like at the end of the day, that's going to be how like we keep getting people like into racing, I think. And it's so big here. Like the advertising and marketing is huge here. They're posting constantly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know, I'm not big into international racing, but Australia is one I will watch because the coverage is top notch. I don't know how they do it, and we can't do it, but like the amount of reporters they have, the amount of coverage they go through horse by horse. How did this Australian idea come up?
Well, I always wanted to do like something international, and I kind of just felt like a bit stuck in Canada. Like there's not a lot of opportunities to grow in Canada. In racing wise. And then I had just posted in like a horse racing group in Australia and said that, you know, this is like the time I'm like looking to come down, like who would be good to work for, I'll do this and that kind of thing. And then another girl actually commented on it who was from Canada, and I had never met her. But she was here working in racing. And then so she helped me out and I found a job through her. And then I got my stuff sorted. Like you have to get I got a working holiday visa, which is super easy to get. And then which it lasts for a year. And then once I got it all sorted, I just booked my flight and came down.
How long did it take you to get used to everything being opposite kind of? Driving, horses going the wrong way.
A long time. Like when I first got here, I didn't drive right away. I went out to Coolmore stud and worked there for a bit, and they have staff cars there. And I remember the first time getting one, like the steering wheel's on the opposite side and everything as well. So I would always go to the wrong side, and I was like, oh no, I'm not driving. And then sometimes I still do it. Like I've gotten a lot better, but sometimes I still do it. And like the first time I drove, it was awful. Like I had to sit in the car and like tell myself, I'm like, no, opposite side of the road, opposite side of the road. But and the same thing with the races. Like I've caught myself, like when I was first here so many times looking the wrong way. I'm like, where are the horses? I'm like, oh yeah, they come the other way. I'm like, it's not like
you have to do anything. You have to do anything different with the horses?
Oh, like everything is different. It's so different. Like we don't use, I don't know if you've seen pictures up close, but here, like we wouldn't use like a chain, like what we would call a shank, right?
Okay.
Like we don't use those on horses here. You might use it if you have a really naughty horse, but we use like double-ended like leads. So they have snaps on both sides, and we would hook them to their bits, like when we're like leading them out to the track, or if we're just have them around the stables, we would use like a chiffney, and then you'd still have their halter on, and then you would clip to the chiffney, like the bit and to the head collar.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
So
yeah, I did not notice that.
That was my biggest difference.
Yeah, very cool. How about those? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're okay.
Oh, I was just going to say, how about those beach swims? Because those pictures look incredible. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, that was really cool. So I've gone to the beach twice, and that was when so when I left Coolmore, I went and worked for Kieran Marr.
Okay.
And he gave me the opportunity to go to the beach and swim horses. So I got to swim a really nice horse. His name was Dr. Drill. He's a gelding. He's like an old boy. He's like 8. So yeah, he was my first horse to swim at the beach. It's so cool. Like it's just something like I wish we could do at home. And swimming is so good for horses, and most of them love it, unless it's like, you know, on a calm day, it's really nice. But if you go out there on a rough day, it's not very nice. The waves are splashing over the horses' backs, and you're soaked, and they don't really like it as much. But for the most part, they love it, and it's really fun to do.
So how often do they do that? Is that kind of incorporated into the training, or is that just like let's have a really special once in a however long day, you know?
Excuse me. It kind of just depends. Like not all trainers do it. Like who I work for now, he doesn't take his horses to the beach. We swim them at the track. But Kieran took his horses probably, it kind of also just depends on the horse and what they're doing. Like you said, kind of training wise. Like usually, I think it was like, if they after a race, like maybe the next, like the Sunday, because the horses here typically have Sundays off. A few of them, if they were racing the previous day, they would go for a swim. And then sometimes like midweek, like certain horses would go for a swim. It kind of, really just depends on their training schedule and what they're doing.
Wow, that is so cool. We've got a comment here from Sean Patrick Nolan. Hello, Down Under, to one of Woodbine's finest. Always great to see you.
Hi, yeah, he's one of my favorite people on Twitter. He's lovely.
Yes, I love it. So tell us, I saw that on your profile it says you are an aspiring bloodstock agent. Is that still accurate, or?
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what I want to do. And I've worked on it since, like, that was a big reason, like, I wanted to come to Australia, because the money here, well, for one, the money here in horses is like absolutely like ridiculous. It's crazy the amount of money that gets spent here. And the breeding here is really good, and there's lots of big sales and lots of like the world's best bloodstock agents. So I've got the opportunity. I think I've went to three sales now with Peter Toomey. He has Wattle bloodstock.
Oh wow!
And I've learned an incredible amount from him. And I also, the sale that just passed, the Easter sale, which is Australia's like top sale. I went around with him and Bruce Slade, who is Gay Waterhouse's bloodstock agent, which if you don't know who Gay Waterhouse is, she's like the biggest trainer, one of the biggest in Australia, female trainers.
Wow. That is so cool. It just looks like they really embrace racing there. Like I saw the parade that you posted for the Melbourne Cup. I mean, what are some other examples you've seen of just like them going all out? It's like Saratoga all year long, right?
Yeah, pretty much. There's just, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I think everything here in a way sometimes is a bit over the top, but yeah, especially like they do like racing carnivals. So like like here right now it's autumn, it's fall.
Okay.
So they just did the autumn carnival. And we just had the 2 weeks of championships. And we just had at the end of March we had the Golden Slipper. And then so like leading up, it's basically like a month-long kind of carnival. Like there's massive races every weekend. Okay. And then after races, they have like a DJ and music and stuff. So they always do stuff like that after big race days, and they always have like events like. Even leading up to the big races, they'll have like events like at the track for like the jockeys, trainers, and owners. And they'll do like media stuff, which I think is really good because like back home, they don't really do that. Like, yeah, sure. You have like your post position draws and stuff, but like here they do so much more than that. When they did the post position draw for the Everest, like the $15 million race they have here, they did it like a drone. They did it like at the Sydney Harbor, and it was a drone show. Wow. And like, that's how they like did the post, like it was crazy.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I wish that we had more of that here.
I wanted to ask you about the championship. You were there for the championships. I got to do social Friday. I was up till 3 a.m. doing the social for TVG, so I got to watch it.
I didn't really watch races. Like I was there working. Like I usually strap. That's what we call it here when we take horses to the races, is strapping. So I was there, but like I wasn't really watching races. We had a couple horses run.
But even like the crowd, it looked like massive compared to any other crowd here.
Oh, like it's packed. Like I would say it's like Saratoga on Travers Day, but like worse. When you can't move, it's like that. Every major race day that there's like group races, it's packed. Like you can't move, and like in a way, like it's enjoyable, like to an extent, but like it's like we have. Here at the races, I guess it's kind of like Saratoga or like Keeneling, when you can have like a members section, and then you have like general admission. So if you're in the members section, which usually, if you work for a trainer, a lot of the times they'll give you members tickets. If you're in there, it's not too bad. But if you're in general admission, it's like a riot. Like everyone's drunk. Like there's so many people. Like
sounds like the infield at the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, that's basically what every big race here is. Wow. But it's good. Like it's all good fun.
Oh man, I just wish that tracks, I want to clip this and send it to tracks, because us being in the media, sometimes even we have so much difficulty just getting access to be able to like film a few short things. Like it's crazy how restrictive they are here. And it is very much like racing feels like an old man sport here. Even, you know, women have made big strides, but even there's some like there, and then the age thing is unbelievable. And I just hear this all the time. This is the way it's always been. This is the way it's always been. Like, that's the attitude with racing in the States. I haven't been to Canada as much, but it sounds like it's kind of a similar vibe there.
Yeah.
I
guess my question now that I'm thinking about it too, you have a lot of Australians that come over here and they do the announcer, so you said the money's good over there, but is it better over here to do that kind of stuff that a lot of Australians come over here?
I wouldn't know from that point of view, but it might be. I honestly wouldn't think so for that job, but because here I get paid like, it kind of depends what position you're in, but here I get paid way more than what I've ever made in Canada. And like for like here, it's actually looked at as like, if you said you were a strapper, like here it's actually looked at as a career. Well, back home, like people would just be like, oh, like, you know, you just like play with horses all day. Like that's not like a real job. And like, I'd say like back home, depending on who you work for, like most of the people that work in racing back home end up having a second job. Or, you know, they have like a significant other that has a second job, because if you just worked on your income alone, you probably wouldn't be able to make a living. Well, here, like my income alone, like I can live fine on my own.
Wow, that is
and
so
like
cool.
and still have money. But like back home, there's no way. If I went back home, like to any trainer, probably I would mind like working like my normal job. I probably wouldn't be able to live in Toronto.
And they pay more to horsemen in Canada than the States. So, so just imagine.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm just like, my mind is blown right now. I really knew nothing about Australian racing. I'm fascinated. I do also have to ask a little bit off topic, but it was funny. Last night you were texting me like, where's the link? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'll send it tomorrow. Yeah. How big is the time difference?
Right now, because time just changed, like for you guys, and it changed for us. So now it's 14 hours.
Okay.
But beforehand, it was 16 when we both had the time changes.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so yesterday, what she's talking about, yesterday I got home and I'm like, why hasn't she sent me the link for this yet? Because today here, it's Tuesday morning here. Like it's currently, what time is it? Okay. It's 10:18 a.m. here. So yesterday, it's Monday for me, right? And I'm messaging her. I'm like, where's the link? And then I'm sitting there, I was like, oh my God. I was like, it's Sunday there. I'm an idiot.
That's so crazy.
So most of the Australian tracks, when they do run, they run in a couple hours. So they're running during the day. They're running at like noontime.
Yeah, I think most races usually start around 1. Okay. And something like, or like 12:45. Kind of depends like on the race day and if it's a really big race day. And then in like the autumn season, we don't do night racing. In the summer, we have night racing, which is painful. Very painful because you don't, typically it's not like how in the States or in Canada where, you know, you're stabled like at your track. And then usually for the most part in that season, you're just running at that track, right? Like you might have the odd horse that ships. But here in Sydney, there's so many tracks. Like, I don't even know how many tracks there's just in Sydney. I have to think about it. But so like say tomorrow, like one of my horses is running, but my horse is running in Newcastle, which is like nearly, I don't know. I think it's nearly it's like 2 hours from Sydney. So like a lot of the times your horses won't be running like in your town. So yeah, my horse runs in Newcastle tomorrow. And then like last week I had a horse run in Kembla, which is in the country. And it's like an hour and a half the opposite way. So like you're always traveling.
Wow. Okay. That is so interesting. So I am so curious. I know the differences between, you know, American, Canadian racing, very similar to European racing, where it's like out in open fields, galloping across the countryside. What is the training like in Australia in the mornings?
It's pretty well, I wouldn't say it's the same, but kind of is the same. Like our worksheets obviously look a lot different. The tracks here, it gets really confusing. I'm still not caught up with it all because there's like 5 different tracks at your track.
Oh, wow.
It's so confusing. And here typically, well, all of our racing is like on turf.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. If we do have like a poly track, but typically like horses they'll do like training on the poly track, but there is like almost never racing on the poly. Like even if the amount of rain, like say if we got like back home and, you know, like races would be off like the grass, they wouldn't be off. They wouldn't be off here for like the same amount of rain. And if, for an instance, like if they do go off the grass here, which is so rare, like we would have to get like a tsunami basically for them to be off the grass. Like you're going to see like over half the field scratch. Like trainers do not want to run on the synthetic or poly.
Gotcha.
And what's the difference there? I have noticed that, and even the big races last weekend, it was a heavy 8 or whatever, so it would have definitely been scratched here. But why? What's the difference? They just have better drainage?
I honestly don't. I would think so. I don't 100% know the answer to that, but I think it's just more. I don't know. It was weird because when I first came here, my friend told me, she's like, "Oh, we only race on the grass here." I was like, "What?" It was so weird to me, and it's just like, I think it's always been that way here from what I know, and it's just they just don't run like on the poly, and I think it's I almost think it's better because, you know, if you look at like the typical like racing and stuff back home, you know how many horses, you know, like break down or have injuries or they don't hold up as long running when they're always running on the poly because it's a lot harder on them, right? And even here I find in general, like in any stable, well, I shouldn't say any because I've only worked in a couple, but even the stables I've worked in, like horses here, you know, they're not seeing the vet a lot. Like they're not getting much vet work at all. Wow. Like little to none, whether like, you know, at home, like horses, in most stables, horses are getting injections, you know, they're always getting like trotted up for the vet, like getting checked because they're always running on the poly and it's so much harder on them than the turf is.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is so interesting. So in the morning, are horses training on the turf as well? You mentioned they do the poly, but do a lot of horses train on the turf also?
Yeah, it kind of just depends yet again in their training, what they're doing. Like when I think for the most part, most of our horses, like when they're working, they're on the turf. Like I wish I had one of my worksheets to show you because it's wrote like so differently. And like, even when I read it, I'm like, I have no idea what this means. Like I just tell the rider, I'm like, oh, this is what you're doing. But you know, back home, like if I saw, you know, our sheet, like I would understand it. But here it's not like, oh, you know, you're going to breeze and you're going to do this, this, and this. Like it's so different. And here we also wouldn't say breeze, like they say gallop. So their works here, it's called galloping. Okay. And which it's still so weird because that's I'm like confusing. Yeah, because like back home, you know, galloping it's not breezing.
Yeah.
Like here I guess they would consider, like if we were talking about galloping back home, they would consider that like a slow work here.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like for us, like when I watch like works here, I'm like that was a breeze. I'm like that was so slow. I'm like, yeah. I guess back home, I think the horses like get pushed a lot more. You know, when they're breezing, they're getting close to race speed. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
And here it's not the case. Like I find things a lot slower pace.
Okay.
The other thing I've noticed too is you guys have more of what we are looking for, and we retire them too soon. Is you guys have more of the superstar horses that are fun to watch every time they race.
Yeah, that's what another thing I really enjoy here. Yet again, I think that comes back to, you know, like the surfaces and what you're doing with the horse, how you're training them, and here like the longevity of them racing. Like the horses here are lasting like in their careers so much longer. Like look at Nature Strip, he's 8 and he's still running. A lot of the horses like in my stable, they're all up there too now. They're like, you know, they're 6, 5, 6, and like back home, you know, you're seeing all the horses retiring. Like horses are retiring now at 3, and that's so stupid.
All of the good horses retire at 3. I swear, it's ridiculous.
And it's like, I don't really care if people don't like me for saying this, but it's because everyone wants a stallion and everyone wants money. It's the same here in racing everywhere. Everyone wants money. But here still, like, look at a horse like Animo. Like, he just ran his last race in Australia, and I'm not 100% because he didn't win, obviously. He ended up finishing 3rd, but they were talking about sending him to Royal Ascot, and I'm not sure if that was only if he won or not, but still, look how many races he's run. Look how many, I think it was, what, 9 Group 1s or 8 Group 1s? Something like that.
I thought that was his last race. I thought that was his last race on Friday.
So that was his last race in Australia, and they said that they were going to send him to Royal Ascot, but I'm not sure if that depended like on him winning or not. I haven't seen anything come up, but yeah, you have horses like that, you know, are running till they're like 10. Yeah. And they're fine, like still minimal like vet work, you know, and stuff like that. And horses here too, they're running back. Most horses here are running back in a week.
Wow.
Like
that is unbelievable.
within a week, and they're fine. And
we are doing something wrong over here. That's for sure.
So then I guess my question is, we everything else is better. How's the aftercare over there versus over here?
I think it's really good. Like, yet again, on those big race days, you have like aftercare tents and stuff popped up, and they're always promoting aftercare and talking about it. So I think here, I guess it kind of depends where you are. I think it's promoted a lot.
Yeah.
But you don't hear here like, about horses going to slaughter. Like, I mean, I'm sure it probably does happen. Like, I think it happens everywhere, but you don't hear about it here. Like, I've never seen a post, like an uproar of like, oh, this horse has gone to slaughter, this, and this. Like, I haven't seen any of that here. And I don't think there's a bill in place right now, but I think they are trying to put one in place that it is illegal to send a racehorse in Australia to slaughter. So hopefully that comes through.
Wonderful.
We need to start doing our shows for Australian racing, apparently.
I know, right? I'm done with America after this interview. All right. John De Silva says, love watching Aussie racing and how it is organized, so tracks rarely overlap with each other with post times. Amen.
They won't. They literally adjust post times to if somebody's out of order, they will reorder them.
They're very big. Like, betting here is massive, obviously. Like, but especially here because the prize money is like wild here. Like, there's no cheap racing here, and everything here is like for the punters. So that's what they call bettors here. They're called punters.
Okay. I was like, what are punters?
It was another thing when I came here. I'm like, why don't you just say bettors? I'm like, why do you guys gotta change every single word? But like, even for when we're at races, like our so how I said we ship most of our horses to a track to run, they stand in tie-ups, like they stand in like the race day stalls, and then those are available. Like, they can't come in, but they can see them from a rail. Like, the bettors or punters like will come and they can see the horses and they can see them walk around. So you usually get there like a couple hours before your race, really, so like the betting public can see them and check them out, kind of deal.
That is so interesting. Oh my goodness. I had no idea that there were so many differences between Australia and the US, but I think we can learn a few things from what's going on over there. Wow.
Yeah, there is a lot.
So this might go without saying since you're raving so much about Australia, but you've been a lot of different places, kind of everywhere. What is your favorite racetrack you've been to?
Like in Australia or in general?
Just in general.
I think I would still pick Saratoga.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Yeah, Saratoga is a special place.
I love it there, and I've only been there once, and I wanted to go like last summer before I came to Australia, but it just ended up working out. I didn't have the time, but when I come home, I'll definitely go there.
Awesome.
So I'll be coming home in July, so those big races will be starting there, so it'll be good.
I plan on going there this summer as well, so maybe we'll hook up and go there and make it a day.
To catch up.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I would love to meet you in person. It's so nice to see you this way, but that would be great. So you're a young person in the sport. You kind of came from totally outside. What would be your advice to someone else young who has an interest in racing? Like, what do you suggest that they do to get the ball rolling?
Well, kind of like depending on what you want to do, if you just want to get into the racetrack, you can always try looking online. There's lots of Facebook groups for like the racetracks. Like, if you type in like, say like our racing jobs, like in USA, I think there's like a Facebook group for that. Just like, write a post expressing your interest. Or, if you see someone online that's like seems approachable, just send them a message and say, hey, how can I get involved? I find it's really hard. Like, it's a really hard sport to get involved in. Like, if you know no one and you come from outside of the sport. Even like when I met my dad's friend, to like actually get into racing and like learn stuff, like it was really hard. Like, it took me a couple of years to actually figure out like if I actually liked it and wanted to like pursue a career in it. And you always have those people too. Like, when I first got into it, I had a lot of people saying, oh, like go back to school, like get out of racing, like it's going nowhere type deal. And people still say that all the time. They're like, oh, you're so young, you should be in college. Like, why do you? But like, I tried going to school and like I hated it. Like, I finished high school, but I hated college.
Yeah. And who needs that debt?
Exactly. But that That would be my biggest thing. You have to put yourself out there, and you can't be afraid. Like, people are going to turn you down and say no, like, yet again, depending on what you want to do. But there will be someone eventually that will come along and help you and teach you if you're willing to learn. It's really all about hard work and dedication, but also knowing when you're getting overworked. Because there's also a lot of people that in this industry, wherever you are in the world, it doesn't matter. They will take advantage of you, and they will drive you into the ground. With what you're doing. So you just have to really make sure, it's a good person, and you have to be able to stand up for yourself in this industry, or you'll get walked all over.
Well, that's another question that we always ask our female guests. Have you been treated differently with females? And then we can go a step further. What's the difference between US and Australia regarding females in the sport?
Treated differently? Yeah, a little bit in some ways, but I think you're gonna get that in honestly any job. And I'm not just putting it down to racing, because then there's going to be those people saying, oh, it's just because you don't work hard enough, you do this and this. Yet again, like, I've literally worked my ass off for years to get to where I am. So when there is those differences, or like when someone says, oh, it's because you're a girl, I have no problem telling you off. Like, I don't care who you are. And it's like, and yet again, it's, if you want to work in racing, you have to be able to do that. Like, if you can't stick up for yourself, like, I know this sounds bad, but racing probably, like, it's not the place for you, because you have to be able to stick up for yourself at the end of the day, especially to get where you want to go.
Yeah. I think that Gen Z is so good at that, though. Like, we've had Andy B and Code and Electra, like, you guys I feel like you're so good at setting your boundaries and knowing your worth. And I love that for you guys. Congratulations. Us millennials don't know that life.
Yeah, both of those girls are really good. I like them a lot, and they're very respectable in the industry as well. They've both done a lot, and they both come from like really good backgrounds, but yeah, they're both doing really great.
I think once you're proven too, that stuff kind of stops.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that if you're not as good or whatever, people just want to throw in your face, which isn't right at all. But I think once you're proven, it's like nobody can say anything, because what are they going to say? You're doing everything you can do.
Yeah. And I think to also come back to what you asked as well, like the difference between kind of Australia and the US, how you get treated. I'd say this is just from what I've experienced and heard, and like, I don't speak on other people's behalf. I think here, like, say like any type of harassment, not even just sexual harassment, any type of harassment, whether you're male, female, whatever you are. Here, I think it's taken a lot more seriously. Like, it gets bit in the butt right away. Like, if you go to report it to, say, your boss, and say if your boss doesn't do anything, which is very rare, you'd go to the stewards. Like, you'd report it to like New South Wales, like the stewards, and they would take care of it right away. And there's a lot of stuff here. Like, you can get fined. Like, it's very serious here. So you don't hear about it. Like, yet again, it's the racetrack. Like, I know that's not really good to say. Like, but I think in the States, it's, yet again, it probably depends who you work for. Some people do, but in any job, yet again, like, we don't have an HR. It's not like we really have someone to go to, like, if you're in like a normal office setting. But like, I think at the end of the day, like, it happens anywhere, and it just comes down to, I don't know, like, being able to stick up for yourself, and hopefully you're working with like, a good person who you don't have to be in those situations, but like, it does happen, and it's really unfortunate, but it happens anywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what does your daily schedule look like?
It depends on the day. So typically if you work for a trainer in Australia, if you're full-time, you're probably working like 5 to 6 afternoons a week. That includes your morning shifts. So, but I'm considered casual. So I start at, which is part-time. I start at 3:30 a.m. every day.
Ooh.
So yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
So that's another thing. The start time here is quite a bit earlier than back home for most stables. But yeah, so I start at 3:30, so my alarm goes off at 2:30 a.m. That's great.
So you put in a full day at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So
all right.
Yeah, so I get up, go to work. I'm about like a 12-minute walk to work. It's not that bad. Get to work. I start by like taking temperatures of horses, and then we start taking them out around 4:30. We walk our horses out to the track, like each lot. So we have like a changeover in the middle, and our riders would come back in, and we'd swap horses and then take whatever horse they were on home, kind of deal. And then you come back, you hose your horse, like it's on tack, you hose your horse, you put it on the walker. There's no such thing as hot walkers in Australia.
Oh, okay.
That is not a thing. You come back, even if the horse works, you come back, your horse is hosed, it gets thrown on the walker.
Interesting.
It is so weird to me. And you just do that all morning until like all your lots are done, like your sets, and then you come back, you dress your horses, which just means you groom your horses basically, and then you're pretty much done after that. And usually my trainer that I work for now, we finish about 8:30 most days, which is great. Like I'm done by 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, and then if I'm working an afternoon shift, since I'm casual, I only do 3 afternoons a week. Thank God, because I couldn't do 6. No way. I come back to work at 2:30 and then work till 4:30. So it's different here because we don't just like, back home, you probably just throw your tubs in and you pick your boxes or whatever and water them. Here we do, like we'd come back, we get our horses ready and we put them on the walker.
Okay.
They'd walk for like 15 minutes, their boxes get done, the water's topped up and whatnot. But we go through all our horses in the barn, like every day, all of our we have, I think we have like 55 or 56 in the barn right now. Every afternoon, they all go on the walker unless there's some reason.
Wow. Okay.
And they come off the walker. I forgot to say this earlier too. They come off the walker and then they roll. Like we have sand rolls at the front of our barn.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so the horses always get to come in, even after they train. Once they get unsaddled, first you'd let them have a roll. You put them in the sand roll and then you give them a hose.
Oh, that is really cool. Wow.
Yeah. But yeah,
I love it.
That's my typical day. And then if I have races, it just depends where I have races. Like I might get to go home for an hour and then say, if I'm going somewhere really far, I might have to be back at 11, and then you go to races because you're there so many hours early. You might not get back till like 7 at night. So it really just depends on the day.
Ooh, I'd be going to bed by 7 at night if I had to wake up at 3:30.
I usually do.
We've got a question here from John De Silva. What is it like seeing the whole country shut down for the Melbourne Cup?
Yeah, it was really cool. So I actually got to go to the Melbourne Cup, and I was working for Kieran Marr at the time, and we won.
Oh, nice.
So gold trip won. That was really exciting. But it's weird because it's a holiday, right? Like kids are out of school, like places are like shops are shut, like it's so wild, like literally. And like the weather this year for it was absolutely miserable. Like it was like 12 degrees, like that's God. Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit.
Sounds
but
cold.
It is cold. It was raining, like I was frozen, but still like the place was absolutely packed, like, and it was pouring rain, windy, like absolutely miserable. And like even the days leading up to it, because I went to Melbourne like a couple days before, like basically the whole city shut down, like how you said, like there's the parade, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on all week, and like even kids, they come out of school for that too, a lot of them. So it's crazy to see how advertised and wild it is.
12 degrees Celsius is only 53 degrees Fahrenheit.
Woo, no, thank you. I'm a Florida girl. We don't do 50s.
Yeah. So see, it was like that. It would have probably been like 10 this morning in Fahrenheit. Or no, for me, it was like 10 degrees Celsius this morning. So
yeah.
And I was froze because it's fall here now, right? And like I've adapted to the temperature. I had to wear 2 pairs of pants this morning.
Oh.
And it's weird because back home in Canada, like it's finally starting to warm up, right? And like there's been days it's been like, like 53, like at home now, and everyone's like, oh my God, it's so warm. And like I used to think the same thing, but now that I've been here for so long, like I've adapted to the temperature. Like anything less than like, I think it would probably be like 70 in Fahrenheit. Like I'm wearing a coat. Like, girl, because I'm so used to the weather.
You lose it quick. I grew up in Ohio and I lived in Cleveland, and then I came to Florida, and I mean, literally within a month, I was like, oh yeah, I can't do below 70. No, we're not doing below 70.
See, neither I've been on the Northeast all my life, so it's, and I also, I have I did trash for 2 months, so I always, when I go outside for like an hour, I'm like, at least I'm not out here all day, because I did it in the middle of winter, so.
Yeah, no, I can't do the cold anymore. It's not for me.
That is so cool.
I heard they have radio shows and all kinds of stuff in Australia. Is that true with horse racing too?
Yeah, they have lots. Like,
and if we start interviewing Australia people, will we get picked up and paid somewhere?
possibility. I guess you gotta reach out and find out.
It's worth a try, Sean. Let's do it.
Yeah, we had that April Fool's joke about New Zealand. We'll just do Australia instead.
That works for me. I'll take either or. I love Florida,
but there'd also be lots of young people here that I could probably reach out to, and you guys could try to get on the show, because it would. I don't know. I think there might be some people here I know that have been in the States too, so that would be good to kind of get their perspective.
Oh yeah. I hope I can understand the accent. Sometimes I have trouble understanding Australian accents. Is that crazy?
Yeah, like when I first came, it kind of depends from where they are in Australia, like whether they're from the country or the city. But I find the country accents are harder to understand.
Especially because, like you said, they're using a lot of different words. You're like, I have no idea what you just said. I need a dictionary. I need something. If someone were talking to me about punters and what did you call it when you walk the horse over and run it for the race? What is that called?
Oh, strapping.
Strapping. If someone were talking to me about strapping and punting, I'd be like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Strapping's not a word you want to use over here and say you're strapping.
No. It sounds like stripping. Like when someone first said it to me, I was like, that's exactly what it sounds like.
You're like, I'm not doing that. No, I did not come here for that.
No. But the slang here, even just like the normal slang, like street slang you'd call it, like it's so different. Like there were so many times, like I still have people message me now and I have to Urban Dictionary the words they send me because I have no idea what they're trying. I have no idea. I feel old and I'm not even old when I'm like typing like in the Urban Dictionary. I'm like, I have no idea what this means.
Oh no, I love it. Wonderful. All right. Well, you got anything else, Sean?
Well, I usually ask, what are things into, and we can take it too far. What were your hobbies back at home, and what are your hobbies now, or are they the same?
Honestly, I'm pretty boring because I work so much. I don't really have. I'm pretty active. Like I like to go running, and I haven't been to the gym in a while just because I've been so busy. But I like to go running, and recently, I wouldn't really call this a hobby, but I've been going out a lot with my friends. I didn't really do that much back home. There's just more like nightlife here too, I find in the city. Even though we all get up at like a ridiculous hour. Like
your nightlife, are you leaving the nightlife and going right to work or what?
Right?
Basically, like, some nights we get home at like 12 and my alarm's going off at 2:30. So some days it's not that fun, but trying to get the best experience I can.
I made a TikTok of that today, actually, where it was showing, party scenes, equestrians at 3 a.m. and then equestrians at 5 a.m. We'll have to change yours. Equestrians at midnight, equestrians at 2:30 a.m. Same idea, though.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this has been amazing. We'll definitely have to have you back on the show. I feel like I've learned so much. This is like one of the most informative interviews we've had, right, Sean?
Absolutely.
We know nothing about Australian racing, so at least we got to dip our toe in the waters, and hopefully we'll get to learn some more. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful. Well, you take care and enjoy the rest of your stay in Australia. We'll be checking in with you, and have a safe trip back to Canada.
Thanks so much, guys.
Have a good morning for you. Good night for everyone else.
Well, I'm going to sleep now anyway. So.
Okay. Well, have a good night then. All right. Take care. Oh, wow. She's the best, huh?
Yeah. And we need to do a lot of what they're doing over there.
I know. I literally had no idea about any of this. I mean, you know me, Sean, I do not follow international racing. And now I'm like, I need to. Okay.
And I know you don't really bet neither, but like literally go to TVG. I'll say go to TVG. Go to TVG. And at night.
I signed up this week.
Okay, there you go. Okay. So at 10:15 at night, go check out the Australian racing. You will enjoy it. It's what, Monday, so it's probably kind of dead tonight. But
I'll check it out every night after Horse Center this week.
It is something, and it's something to watch the announcers. They'll stay on the whole time pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, they go from track to track, but they're always interviewing people. They're always talking about they will go through every horse in the field and talk about it.
That is awesome.
The coverage is great.
We need some of that here. And I just love what she was saying about everyone over there is young. They're all on social media. Like here we knock it like, oh, you losers. And over there, they embrace it. You know, like this is part of what brings it to the next generation. You know, I mean, I love all of that. I feel like we need so much more of that. We can't leave it all to Electra. We all got to be partaking in the social media and showing the entire world what it is that we do and why it's so cool and why people need to check it out more. You know, like I think racing is fascinating. It's not just a niche sport for men over 60, you know, which is kind of how we view it here.
Well, and some of those people that are on Twitter aren't exactly the best spokesman for the sport. So we need to get out.
Our punters, I would like to punt them sometimes, right?
Maybe that was the idea that Australia. Maybe that's why Australia people call them punters, is they thought they might have to do that, but they don't have to do that. We have to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I mean, it sounds like they advertise so much that kind of everyone is partaking in it. If you get a general, like most of the population, most people are not assholes. You know, it's just racing seems to attract the hardcore assholes to be like the.
Yeah, and I've said this before. I was to Saratoga. That's where I met Tom, Terry, and Rich and stuff. It was enjoyable. I liked it. But honestly, and people are going to think I'm crazy, but I go to Penn National Parks, Delaware. The track was nicer. Everything was nicer. The only difference was there was a lot of people there.
Yeah.
To me, there wasn't all that much of a difference.
Right.
To me, people say Saratoga because they just want that party atmosphere. Yeah. Every track can be Saratoga. It's just people, not everybody's there. And that's what people want. And, you know.
Yeah. I mean, every track has its own vibe and whatnot. But, I agree. And I also agree with Pete, you know, the guest that we had on not too long ago, the announcer from Gulfstream, that I enjoy betting the smaller races and the less, well, I don't bet, but I enjoy watching those so much more. Like, I feel like you know the situation so much better. Like he said, when you get to the top stage, everyone's kind of doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Like you don't have advantages that you can play to and exploit for your gain. Everyone's kind of like doing the very best that can be done versus if you're going for lower level, then you can kind of like reason things. You can use, there's more opportunity there in my opinion.
Well, yeah. And you can also see, okay, this horse has run at the track 10 times. This horse has run 8 times. This horse has run at this distance. When you start getting into the Kentucky Derby and stuff, you have a lot of zeros. A horse never ran this distance. A horse never ran this track. And there's a lot of filling the blanks.
Yeah. Not to mention the only horses that we see here who run past their 3-year-old year are lower level horses. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
So everyone has zeros, or they've won 1 or 2 races and then they're retired to stud. It's terrible.
There was just a horse. I want to say last week. It was either last week or the week before. 10 years old at Parks. It won its like 14th race out of like 84 starts, and that's the stuff we don't have anymore. And you know, then you get the comments, oh, why they're running at 10 years old. If that horse is still winning at 10 years old, apparently that horse still loves its job and loves what it's doing. Why stop it?
Yes. And they retire themselves when they're done running and just don't want to do it. They retire themselves. I used to be, you know, a lower level claiming trainer, and some of the horses, they just stop running. They're like, I don't really want to do this anymore. They're not sore. They're not sick. They're just like, I'm over it. And then you retire them and they go on to be hunter jumpers, and they're amazing at that. Like horses will tell you when they're done, and they will tell you when they want to keep going, because a lot of horses love to run.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a perfect example for that is Tyler Connor was riding and Aaron McClellan was training best. And that horse was winning constantly. And then all of a sudden she started finishing last, not doing very well.
Yeah.
And Aaron did the right thing. Aaron knows, hey, this horse is done. And she retired the horse. And, you know, the horse is going with a good trainer to be breeded and stuff. And
perfect.
So, like, yeah, you can definitely tell.
Yeah. They let you know. All right. Well, we got a few comments here. John De Silva, you can make money betting Australian racing. I just signed up for my TVG account. I deposited my $50. I'm going to start this week because I keep watching these shows, and HRT has convinced me that I can do something with this. So I'll keep you guys updated how it turns out. I'm about to make a bet here, and why not? We'll start with Australian racing because now Veronica has also inspired me. And he's got another comment here. Get hooked up with Sky Racing Australia. We'll have to keep that in mind. And how about this one, Sean? He met me at Parks. Can't get better than that.
There you go. Yeah. that day with PA Derby was great. And yes, I got to meet John, and that was great too.
Yeah.
I actually held John up. John wanted to watch the race. And, I'm always get back to the race. And I was talking to John and so caught up in the conversation, I was missing the race. So.
Well, there you go. Obviously,
I was missing the race for John.
Both of you.
Yeah, I was missing the race for John, and I never miss the races. So obviously he was entertaining to talk to.
Yeah, of course he is. He's amazing. Love him. All right. Well, what else have we got going on this week, Sean?
So tomorrow, and I need you for the background, we have Katie Larson on tomorrow. So
yes, I am so excited about this. She's fabulous. We actually met her when HRT went down to Gulfstream Park just to kind of follow around some people there. We went down there for some big races. We hooked up with Kent Sweezy, and she gallops horses for him. She's currently back in Canada. That was only for the winter. But the big thing with Katie that makes her so special is that she founded Southern Belle Thoroughbreds, which is an aftercare program that is massive. I really enjoyed researching this episode. I mean, they have rehomed over 700. She's back on track. She's already rehomed several in the few short weeks that she's been back to Canada. And the way that they do it and how they keep track of all of that and make sure that every single horse is going to an absolutely top-notch home. They help transition that whole thing. They don't just like leave you hanging like, okay, here's your horse. Good luck. I mean, I'm so interested to talk to her about all of that. Like, she does really amazing, special work that needs to be done. I mean, imagine almost 1,000 horses, Sean. 1,000 horses. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. We need more of that.
Yeah,
sure. Tomorrow will definitely be interesting to talk about that. And then Wednesday, we have Jareth Loveberry on, who just got that big win with 2 fills.
Yes.
And if all things go to plan, he will be riding in the Kentucky Derby for the first time.
He's my Derby pick because, I do heart picks. So 2 fills all the way.
Well, sometimes with the Kentucky Derby races like that, your rooting interest is who you might as well bet because anybody can win.
Rich Strike.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
mind that bird. It's happened before, right?
Yeah. So that will definitely be another interesting show I mean, he's had a storied riding career as it is.
Yes.
Really riding well. So
he's an awesome guy. We're gonna have a lot of fun with that one. He's really special.
Awesome. And then tomorrow, I think it's Rich and Terry, but I'm not sure, will be Parks Day number 2. That will be, I think it's usually like 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then the only other thing is pickswiththeprofessor.com. We got baseball right now and NBA playoffs. So pickswiththeprofessor.com, at Professor Sides on Twitter, and on YouTube too. He has a show where he gives out picks.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Okay, well, that brings us wire to wire on Horse Center tonight. Thank you so much for being here with us. We hope that you learned something about Australian racing like we did. And please follow us, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. We're on pretty much every social media platform these days: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Horse Race the number 2 day. Please show us some love there. We appreciate it. And we hope that we will see you soon in the
Winner's Circle.
Have a good night, everyone.